Chapter 1. My beginning. I was born in the year 384 before the time we call now. My home was Stagira, a small town near the sea in a land called Macedonia. It was a place of green hills and blue waters. I loved to watch the waves crash on the shore and the birds fly high in the sky. My father was a healer. He knew much about the human body and how to make people well. He worked for the king of Macedonia, a powerful ruler. I often watched him work, filled with wonder. How could he know so much about the inside of a person? I wanted to know too. My father taught me to look closely at things. We would walk through the fields and forests, and he would point out different plants and animals. He would explain how they lived and why they were important. I learned the names of many things and how they worked together. I was a curious boy. I wanted to know why the sky was blue, why the sun was hot, and where the stars went at night. I asked my father many questions, and he would do his best to answer. But sometimes, he didn't know the answers either. When I was young, I left my home to go to a great city called Athens. It was a place of learning and wisdom. Many wise men lived there, and they taught about the world and how people should live. I went to a special school called the Academy. The Academy was a place of wonder. There were gardens and buildings, and people talked about big ideas. My teacher was Plato, a famous thinker. He taught me about perfect forms and the world beyond what we can see. I learned a lot from him, but I also had my own thoughts. I loved to talk and think about things. I wanted to understand everything. Why do people behave the way they do? What is justice? What is beauty? These were the questions that filled my mind. Athens was a place of great change. New ideas were born every day. I met people from many different places, and I learned about their customs and beliefs. It was a time of excitement and discovery. I was happy in Athens, but I also missed my home in Stagira. I missed the sea, the forests, and the simple life. I knew that one day I would return, but for now, I was eager to learn all I could. Chapter 2. A Seeker of Knowledge. After many years in Athens, learning from the wise men, I felt a pull to return home. The world outside the city called to me. I wanted to see more than just the walls of the academy. I wanted to explore the earth, to study the creatures that lived on it, and to understand the sky above. With a heart full of questions, I left Athens. I traveled to many places. I saw high mountains and deep valleys, vast plains and wide oceans. In every place, I found something new to wonder at. I watched the ants carry heavy loads, bigger than themselves. I saw how birds built their nests and cared for their young. I studied the different kinds of fish in the sea and the many colors of the rocks. With each discovery, my love of the natural world grew stronger. I also met many people on my travels. I learned about their lives, their customs, and their beliefs. Some were kind and helpful, while others were strange and frightening. But I learned from them all. During my journeys, I thought deeply about the world and its many wonders. I asked myself questions about how things began and why they are as they are. I wondered about the stars and the moon, and about the unseen forces that shape our lives. My travels were not always easy. I faced many dangers, and sometimes I was lonely, but my love of learning kept me going. I knew that every experience, good or bad, was a chance to learn and grow. As I explored the world, I began to understand that there is so much more to know than what can be learned in books. The true wisdom comes from observing nature and understanding the connections between all living things. Chapter 3. A Place to Learn. After many years of wandering and learning, I felt a pull to return to Athens. The city had changed, but my love for knowledge was stronger than ever. I gathered my friends and students around me, and together, we created a new place to learn. We called it the Lyceum. The Lyceum was different from other schools. We didn't just sit and listen. We walked and talked, thinking about the world around us. We studied many things: the stars in the sky, the animals on the earth, how people live, and what makes a good life. I wanted my students to ask questions and find answers. I taught them to look closely at things and think deeply. We studied everything from tiny insects to big animals. We talked about how things grow and change and why they are the way they are. We also talked about how people should live. What makes people happy? How can we be kind to others? What is fair? And how can we make the world a better place? These were big questions, but we tried to find answers together. Many people came to the Lyceum to learn. Some were young, like me once, full of questions and dreams. Others were older, with their own wisdom to share. We all learned from each other. Life at the Lyceum was full of fun and excitement. We discovered new things every day. We laughed together, sometimes argued, but always learned. It was a special place, a place where knowledge grew stronger every day. I was happy to share what I knew with others. I wanted to help people understand the world around them and their place in it. The Lyceum was my gift to the world, a place where wisdom could grow. We built a garden at the Lyceum. We planted many kinds of plants. We watched them grow and change. We learned about their needs, how they use sunlight and water. We even studied the tiny creatures that lived in the soil around them. We also had a place for thinking. It was a quiet room with books and scrolls. We would sit there and think about big ideas. We talked about the beginning of the world, about the stars, and about the meaning of life. I wanted my students to be well-rounded people. We studied not just the mind, but also the body. We exercised, played games, and learned about health. A healthy body helps a healthy mind, we believed. The Lyceum was more than just a school. It was a community. We cared about each other. We helped each other when needed. We celebrated together and mourned together. We were a family of learners. I spent many years at the Lyceum, teaching and learning. It was the happiest time of my life. I felt like I was making a difference in the world, one mind at a time. Chapter 4: How to Rule. At the Lyceum, we talked a lot about how people should live together in a city. Who should be in charge? How should the city be run? These were big questions with no easy answers. Some people think that one wise person should rule. They say this person knows best and can make good decisions for everyone. Others believe that the people should rule themselves. They say that everyone should have a say in how the city is run. I think both ways have good and bad points. A wise ruler can make good decisions, but even the wisest person can make mistakes. If people rule themselves, everyone has a say, but it can be hard for everyone to agree. The best way to rule, I think, is a mix of both. A few wise people can help make decisions, but the people must also have a say. The rulers must listen to the people and understand their needs. A city is like a big family. Everyone has a role to play. Some people grow food, others build houses, some teach, and others protect the city. Everyone is important. A good ruler makes sure that everyone is treated fairly. Rich people should not have all the power. Poor people should not be forgotten. Everyone deserves a chance to be happy and successful. A good ruler helps everyone to live a good life. Ruling a city is not easy. It takes wisdom, courage, and fairness. A good ruler must be honest and trustworthy. The people must respect the ruler, and the ruler must respect the people. We talked about different kinds of government at the Lyceum. Some cities were ruled by kings, others by a group of rich people. Some cities let the people vote for their leaders. We studied the history of many cities. We learned about what worked and what didn't. We tried to understand why some cities were strong and others weak. We also talked about the importance of laws. Laws are rules that everyone must follow. They help keep order and protect people. But laws must be fair and just. Everyone should be treated equally under the law. A good ruler makes good laws. The laws should be clear and easy to understand. They should protect the rights of everyone, rich or poor. Building a good city is like building a house. You need a strong foundation. You need good materials. And you need skilled workers. But most importantly, you need people who care about each other. At the Lyceum, we tried to understand how to build a good city. We wanted to help people create a place where everyone can live happy and safe lives. Chapter 5. The World Around Us. We spent a lot of time at the Lyceum looking at the world outside. We watched the birds fly, the fish swim, and the flowers grow. We wondered how these things came to be and why they were like this. We learned about the earth, the water, and the air. We looked at the sun, the moon, and the stars. We tried to understand how everything worked together. We used special glasses to look at very small things. We saw tiny creatures living in water and small plants on rocks. We were amazed by how small life could be. We also studied big things. We looked at the sky and tried to understand why the sun moves. We watched the moon change shape and wondered why. We looked at the stars and tried to find patterns. We learned about different kinds of animals. We learned how they were born, how they grew, and what they ate. We compared different animals and found ways they were similar and different. We studied plants too. We learned about their roots, stems, and leaves. We learned how they use sunlight to grow. We discovered that different plants grow in different places because they like different kinds of weather. We were curious about everything. We wanted to know how the world worked. We wanted to understand why things happened. We believed that by studying the world around us, we could learn more about ourselves. We went on walks to study nature. We looked at rocks and learned about the Earth's history. We listened to the birds and learned about their songs. We watched insects and learned how they lived. We collected things like leaves, feathers, and stones. We looked at them closely and drew pictures of them. We tried to understand how they were made and what they were for. We also studied the weather. We watched the clouds and learned about rain, snow, and wind. We measured the temperature and learned about hot and cold. We watched the seasons change and learned about why they happen. We were always asking questions. We wanted to know why the sky is blue, why the ocean is salty, and why the wind blows. We tried to find answers, but sometimes we didn't know. That was okay. Not knowing is the start of learning. We learned that the world is full of wonders. Every day was a chance to discover something new. We were lucky to live in a time when people were starting to understand the world around them. The more we learned, the more we realized how much we didn't know. But that was exciting. It meant there was always more to discover. Chapter 6. Thinking Clearly. At the Lyceum, we spent a lot of time thinking about thinking. It might sound strange, but it's very important. We talked about how we know what we know and how to make sure our thinking is right. We learned about logic, which is like the rules of thinking. It helps us think clearly and find mistakes in our thoughts. For example, if you say all dogs are animals and this is a dog, logic helps you understand that this is an animal is true. We talked about different kinds of knowledge. Some things we know because we see them, like a tree or a stone. Other things we know because people tell us, like stories or history. But there are also things we know that are harder to explain, like what is right or wrong. We try to understand how we learn. Is it by seeing, hearing, or doing? Or is it by thinking about things? We learn that we learn in many different ways, and that practice helps us get better at things. We talked a lot about wisdom. It's not just about knowing a lot of things. It's about using what you know in a good way. A wise person can make good choices and solve problems. It's important to question everything. Don't just believe something because someone says it's true. Look for proof and think about it yourself. Thinking clearly is like building a strong house. You need to have a good foundation, use good materials, and be careful. It takes time and practice. We argued a lot at the Lyceum. We didn't always agree, but we learned from each other. We tried to find the truth by talking about different ideas. It was hard work, but it was also fun. Thinking clearly is a skill that everyone should have. It helps us understand the world and make good decisions. It's like a tool that we can use to solve problems. We learned that our minds are powerful tools. We can use them to learn new things, solve problems, and create amazing things. But we need to use them carefully. So, the next time you think about something, try to think clearly. Ask yourself if your thinking makes sense. Look for evidence to support your ideas. And remember, it's okay to change your mind if you find new information. Chapter 7. The World Beyond Our World. We spent a lot of time looking at the world around us, but we also wondered about the big world out there. What is the sky made of? Where do the stars go? Why does the sun change its place every day? Some people said the earth was flat like a pancake. Others said it was round like a ball. We didn't know for sure, but we tried to figure it out. We watched the sun rise and set, and we noticed how the shadows changed. We looked up at the night sky and saw lots of tiny lights. We called them stars. We tried to find shapes in them. Some people saw animals, others saw heroes. We wondered if there were other people living on those stars. The moon was a big mystery. It changed shape every night. Sometimes it was full and round, sometimes half, and sometimes we couldn't see it at all. We tried to understand why. We wondered about time. What is time? Where does it come from? Does it ever stop? We tried to measure time using the sun and the moon. We made clocks with water and sand. We noticed the weather changed. Sometimes it was hot, sometimes cold. Sometimes it rained, sometimes it snowed. We tried to understand why these changes happened. We looked at the ground and saw rocks. We wondered where they came from and how old they were. We found seashells on mountains and wondered how they got there. We looked at the ocean and wondered what was at the bottom. Were there big monsters or strange creatures? We dreamed of sailing to faraway lands. We looked at the clouds and wondered where they came from. How did they make rain? We watched storms and were amazed by the power of nature. We were curious about everything. We wanted to know how the world began and where it was going. We looked for answers everywhere, in the sky, in the earth, and in our own minds. The world is a big and amazing place. We were just starting to learn about it. We knew there was so much more to discover. We were excited to explore and learn. The more we learned, the more questions we had. But that was okay. Questions are the start of learning. We were happy to be alive in a time when people were starting to understand the world around them. Chapter 8: The Soul and the Body. We talked a lot about the world around us, but we also wondered about ourselves. What are we really? What makes us different from animals? We could see our bodies. We could touch them and feel them. They were made of flesh and bones. But what about the inside? What makes us think and feel? Some people said there was something inside us called a soul. They said the soul was different from the body and lived on after the body died. Others said we were just made of the same stuff as everything else. We talked a lot about dreams. Where did they come from? Were they messages from the gods? Or were they just pictures from our minds? We wondered if our souls traveled while we slept. We talked about how we feel. Sometimes we were happy, sometimes sad, sometimes angry. What made us feel these things? Was it our bodies or our minds? We tried to understand our emotions. We also talked about courage. Some people were not afraid of danger. Others were very scared. What made some people brave? Was it their bodies or their minds? We learned that our bodies and minds were connected. If our bodies were sick, our minds could feel bad. If we were worried, our bodies could feel tired. We wondered why we were here. What was the purpose of life? What should we do with our time? These were big questions, and we didn't have all the answers. We talked about how to live a good life. We thought about being kind to others, being honest, and being fair. We wanted to be good people. We also talked about death. What happens when we die? Does our soul go somewhere else? Or does it just end? These were scary questions, but we had to think about them. We knew that life was precious. We should make the most of our time. We should be grateful for what we have. We should help others when we can. Understanding ourselves was a big challenge. We learned a lot, but there were still many things we didn't know. But we kept thinking and talking. We wanted to understand who we were and why we were here. The body and the soul are both important. We need to take care of both. We need to eat healthy food, exercise, and get enough sleep. We also need to think good thoughts, be kind to others, and learn new things. Life is a journey. We are always learning and growing. We should enjoy the journey and make the most of it. Chapter 9: Sharing Knowledge. We had spent many years learning and thinking. We wanted to share what we knew with others. We wanted to help people understand the world better. We wrote down our ideas in books so that others could read them after we were gone. We wrote about the sky and the earth, about plants and animals, and about how people should live. We wanted to help people live happier and better lives. We wanted to show people how to think for themselves. Knowledge is like a treasure. We wanted to share this treasure with everyone. If people understand the world, they can make better choices. They can solve problems and create good things. Learning is like a journey that never ends. There are always new things to discover. We hope that people after us would keep learning and building on what we knew. We wanted to make the world a better place. We believed that knowledge could help people live in peace and harmony. We wrote books and talked to our students. We traveled to other cities to teach. We wanted as many people as possible to learn what we knew. It was hard work to write books. We had to think carefully about what to say and how to say it. We wanted our words to be clear and easy to understand. We drew pictures to help people understand. We showed how things worked and how things were connected. We wanted our books to be beautiful as well as smart. We knew that not everyone would read our books, but we hoped that some people would be inspired to learn more. We hoped that our ideas would spread like seeds and grow into big, strong trees. We wanted to create a world where everyone could learn and grow. We wanted a world where people were kind and helpful to each other. We believed that knowledge was the key to this kind of world. Sharing knowledge is like giving a gift. It is a way to help others. We all have something to share. Let's use our knowledge to make the world a better place for everyone. Even though we may not be here to see it, we hope that our words will live on. We hope that future generations will build on our work and create an even better world. Chapter 10. A Life Well Lived. My life has been long and full. I have seen much of the world and learned many things. I have taught others and tried to make a difference. I am old now, and my body is weak, but my mind is still sharp. I think often about the life I have lived and the things I have learned. I am grateful for the chance to learn and to teach. I am proud of the work I have done, but I know that there is still much to learn and much to do. I hope that the things I have taught will live on after me. I hope that future generations will build upon my work and create an even better world. I believe that the most important thing in life is to live with purpose. We should use our time wisely and make a difference in the world. We should be kind to others and help those in need. We should also take time to enjoy life. We should appreciate the beauty of nature and the joy of human connection. As I look back on my life, I feel a sense of peace. I have lived a good life, and I have no regrets. I am ready for whatever comes next, but I also feel a sense of hope. I believe that the world has a bright future. I believe that people are capable of great things. I encourage you to live your life to the fullest. Learn all you can, share your knowledge, and be kind to others. Make a difference in the world and leave it a better place than you found it. This is my final word.